those who need to watch later on. Y feliz martes, Tuesday. Sí, feliz martes. I kind of lose track on holiday weeks because I've got people on different schedules in my household. You probably have the same thing happening too. Así es, so it is. Okay, bienvenidas, bienvenidas. Y aquí viene CJ. CJ's coming on and we'll give her a moment. I just want to tell you, if you have an item you're going to describe, now would be the time to find that item. And if you don't worry, we've got stuff to describe. And I found it actually a very cute and sweet short video that will help us with that too, that will give you some examples before we do that. We're going to do the describing after we do our numbers stuff. So today is a day mainly for numbers and for describing words. That means adjectives. And after that, also, I'm going to give you a preview of what I would like folks to do for the coming week before next week, Tuesday. And that's going to be take a look at information on verbs and what happens with verbs and why do we need to know that stuff. And it'll be kind of a crash course on verbs, but that is fine. Okay. Vamos a empezar con los números. We're going to start with some things on numbers. And still have the screen to set up. Bien. Okay. A ver. Bueno, vamos a empezar. I'm going to put a share screen on with you guys on numbers first as kind of a preview. And then we're going to look at some price stuff. Aquí viene Lisa. Okay. Aquí viene. So we're going to do kind of a preview and show you, I need to make this just a little bit smaller, how numbers are always a thing that we recycle and we start to combine lower numbers with higher numbers. And just what happens with higher numbers, we'll do a little preview of that, but probably not a lot of practice, but we'll undoubtedly do more of that in January, just in kind of a slightly different venue. Pero, vamos a ver, we're going to take a look at some things that combine with the hundreds. So we're going to combine some of the lower numbers with just the 100 items. Okay, because like recycling the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we recycle those 0 through 10 numbers into the double digit numbers. So 25, 25, 54, 54, 82, 82. Just like we recycle that, we're going to recycle all these numbers together if we do anything that's like 120, 155. All of those get recycled and we fold all the old numbers we've used into the newer and higher numbers. But we're only going to look at things in the double digit and then maybe a couple things with 100 plus some extras. And para preparar, just to prepare, the way we say 100, actually we need to know two words, a shorty version and a longer version for 100. 100. 100 and 100 only is that short word you see at the top left-hand corner, 100. 100. 100 is 100 only when it's 100. It's the shorty form, 100. But whenever I add anything onto 100, from 101 up to 199, it has to go into a long form. So starting with 101, it becomes ciento. We put a to on the end of cien, and we just tag on a to. So ciento. And we have examples, 101, 101, 102. Notice we don't need a little word e yet. Yeah. 102, 103. Anybody want to take a guess? 104, ¿cómo se dice? How would you say 104?
104.
104, perfecto, sí. ¿Cómo se dice 110?
110.
110. Yeah, we don't need any E yet. How about 115? We're just going to tag on, or I'm sorry, perdón, 11. I jumped the gun here.
111.
111. Ah, 111. Yeah, because we got that special word once. Sí, recuerda, remember. 111. 115, because I have a special word for 15, so it'll be 115.
115.
115.
15.
15 is that 15 word. And now we are going to hear the E come in, because the way we say 19 is 10. You hear the E. 19. 19. So 119 will be
119.
119. So from here on up, you're going to hear an E when you need an E. And that means when you have a number higher than 0 in that last numeral place. So I have a 0 in the last numeral place. I don't need an E yet, right? 120 is 120. 20, sí, 120. But I'm going to hear the E with 21, 121, because 20, right? 21 is there. So 121, 122. Sí. Entienden. 125.
128.
Bueno. 130. I don't need an E because there's no E with 30, right? 130, but now 131, I'll need an E because I've got a number higher than 0 in the last digit place there, right? 131. 132 will be
132. Y dos.
E2. You hear the E come back, right? Okay. 136 will be
135. No,
6.
6.
6, sí. 136, 137. And now I've got a 0 in my last place, so I don't need an E word stuck in there. It's just 140. 140. But 141, because I've got a number higher than 0 in this last place. 141, right? And notice we don't put like E. We don't, there's no E between ciento and that number, right? That E only comes in if I have in the very last digit place something higher than 0. Yeah, so 145, 145. 149, 150, no E because I've got a 0 in my last place. 150.
50.
152.
Y Dios.
¿Cómo se dice 154?
150.
50.
Y 4.
4. 155. You get the idea. Sí, ¿no? Es fácil. So I'm just going to kind of review by the tens what these sound like. And then we're going to go into some actual looking at ads. Okay, so we'll do that in just a minute. En un minuto. 160, but then 161, right? 170, 170, but 177 is 177, right? 180 becomes 180, but 181, 183. And 190, 190, okay? And we'll take a brief look when we're done with ads at what happens with the 200, the 300, and all of those little puppies there. Okay. Vale, vamos a practicar un poquito más aquí. ¿Cuál? Aquí. Ah, ¿cuánto cuesta? Ah, come on, vamos. Gotta get this to
How
call
much,
up.
then how much it is, or how much it costs, or
Sí, ¿cuánto cuesta? How much it costs? Ah, vamos. Hang on. Perdón, excuse me a quick minute while I try to get this fixed. My screen doesn't want to enlarge, and it darn well better. Let's try a backdoor way to get in there and get that done. Aquí viene, here it comes. Wow, why is my computer taking so long to think? Okay, a ver, vamos a practicar. Ahora funciona, now we got it working. Okay, ¿cuánto cuesta? And ¿cuánto cuesta means how much does it cost? ¿Cuánto cuesta? Vamos a ver. And ignore the 99 at the end. We're just looking at the big digits, okay? The big digits. ¿Cuánto cuesta? Sí, son paquetes de café. These are our coffee packets. ¿Cuánto cuesta?
19.
19. And it's important to
Nueve.
get that nine number is 9.
9.
You're smiling when you finish it. 9. 9, right? If you have nueva, not smiling, or nuevo, not
Nueve.
smiling, then it means new. Okay, which is a good segue into, we're going to have, new is one of our vocabs for adjectives, but 19. Okay, vale, bueno, KitchenAid aquí, ¿cuánto cuesta? This 29.
29.
20.
20.
9. Smiling and 29. ¿Cuánto cuesta? Air fryer, ¿cuánto cuesta?
50.
50.
59.
59. Oh, we love our
50.
nines in American prices. That's really tiresome, isn't it? ¿Cómo se dice? Sí, aquí. 39.
Oh, 39.
Oh, now, cuidado.
39.
39.
30.
Why can it not be 39?
Oh, it's after the 3.
Yeah,
I mean, it's, yeah.
39 would be 3 and
30,
9. Yeah, so we've got to think 39. Está bien, it's okay. It's good to make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much is this one? 67.
60.
67.
67. Y 7. Bien. 60, a double S sound. 67.
7.
¿Cómo se dice 76?
7.
Instead of it'll be
60.
70
y
6, right?
76. 70.
70.
We have an S and a T, an S and a T. 70.
70.
Y 6. Bien. ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost?
80 y
80
4.
y
4.
4. 84. Bien. Okay, vale. Let's see if we can get a different one to pop up here. Ooh. Very troublesome. Okay, a ver. We're going to have a couple hundreds we're going to add into the mix here, but not a lot. A couple. ¿Cuánto cuestan? 99.
99.
99. We want to smile at the end of 9. 99. See, ¿Cuánto cuesta?
12.
12. Bien, fantástico. ¿Cuánto cuesta?
39.
39. Excelente. ¿Cuánto cuesta?
84.
84.
4.
Perfecto, perfecto. Fitbit. ¿Cuánto cuesta? Un reloj de Fitbit.
49.
49. We're smiling at the end of our 9. 49. Bien. 49. We're going to add 179. We're gonna
Excuse
do
me.
a couple hard ones in here. 179. Now we need the long form, ciento.
179.
Perfecto. 179. 179. Aquí. 199.
60. No.
100.
199.
199. Perfecto. 199. 199. We're going to smile at the end of our 9. 199. Ok. Una página más. Algo a ti. ¿Cuánto
I'm
sí?
just out of curiosity. How
Sí.
do you actually say the dollar and the cents? in
The dollar
Spanish?
and the cents. Okay. The dollar and the cents, no es difícil, not that hard. It'll vary a little bit regionally. Some just add on 99. Some say con. Con means with.
Okay.
Some will say con 99. Kind of depends on where you are. Some places like to say con. Some will just say 49, 99. Bien, okay. Some will just add it on at the end. So, depende, kind of depends. Okay. Otro Fitbit, pero 69. ¿Cómo se dice? Sí. Cuesta.
60.
69.
69.
Excelente. Sí. 79.
70 y
70.
9.
79. We need to hear the T in 70. Sí.
Oh.
70. 79. Bien. 49.
49.
49. Excelente. 24.
20? No. 20.
24.
24.
Bien. We're going to throw you a little curveball.
Oh, it's just 24, no.
24. 24, nada más, nothing else. 24. 14. Here's a one-word number. 14.
14.
14. Sí, 14. Bien. Another one-word number. 12.
12.
12. Bien. Fantástico. 49.
49.
49. Bien. Excelente. Ok. Bueno. Fantástico. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any question about those? And those just take a lot of practice and over. And we'll do more practice with numbers, but in kind of a slightly different venue. In January, once we bump that up. I need to find one extra page on my numbers thing. I want to show you just briefly what is going to happen with the bigger numbers. And most of you, if you are, unless you're working in something like real estate or finance or banking, You generally don't need to go into the million stuff. Generally what you need to know is some hundreds. And because currency rates are different and monetary units are different from one country to another, it's not actually out of the question that you'll need to know how to say words into the hundreds, more than 100. Especially when we're talking about pesos, it's not unusual to buy things that are, if it equates to something that's a couple of $100, you'll be looking into several hundred pesos. So the way we form, and I don't want you to look at the middle column. The middle column shows feminine forms, which can happen with the hundreds forms. But if we're talking about pesos, dollars, or well, not dollars. Well, yes, dollars or pesos. And talking about monetary units, you really only need the masculine forms. So don't stress about the feminine and masculine with numbers at this point, because you probably won't need it. What happens with the multiple hundreds is we base everything, just like we recycled a lot of words into the teens numbers. We're recycling a lot of words, but everything is recycled based on the word ciento. Ciento is 100. So to make 200, 300, 400, it's got to be more than 100. So we make it cientos with an S at the end, and we just stick the number in front. There's only going to be one real huge, glaring, nasty exception to this rule, okay? So 200 will become literally 200s. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. It'll be the word 200s, plural, 200. 200, okay? Repitan, por favor, 200.
200.
200.
200. 300 will be 300s, literally. 300.
300.
300. 400 will be a nice 4 and hundreds. 400.
400.
400. Okay, here comes the big, glaring, nasty, that's why it's in bold, exception to the rule. You would think it should be 500, but it's not. Remember the word 15, 15, 15, yeah. That keen from quince comes back for this 500 word. It's a Latin thing. That's the only thing I can really tell you. It goes back to some Latin thing. So we take the se off of quince and it becomes still keen. 500. 500. And look at the odd way we form 500. 15-year-olds in my high school classes hated this word. It's the hard one, as they would call it, the hard one, okay? Because you take the S sound off of ciento, ciento. You take off the S sound, and you've got, a truncated form of cientos, and you've got a truncated form of quince. It becomes 500. 500. Yeah, I want everybody to say that word with me because this intimidates people. It's not that bad. We just combine keen, ientos. 500. 500, 500, okay? And then we're going to go back to the pattern. It should be, yay, it becomes 600.
600.
600, it becomes 700.
700.
700, it becomes 800.
800.
800. And 9 changes a little bit, just like we shortened nueve. We smile at the end of nueve. We changed nueve into 90. We keep that nov idea. 900. 900. Okay. 900. And the next step up, the next bump up will be 1,000. 1000. 1000. And happily, 1000 just stays 1000. I just stick a number on the front of 1000 to make it multiple thousands. So 2000,
2000.
3000,
3000.
4000, 5000, 10,000, 10,000. So 1000 always stays 1000. I just put a number in front of mil. Okay, so I don't need to make mil plural like I made cientos plural, just mil. 2000 or mil for 1,000. And notice they don't say un mil, 1,000. They say just mil, 2,000, 20,000, 100,000, 500,000. It just, keeps going up. And millón, you're unlikely to need. If you're likely to need that, let me know later. That means you're a finance kind of person. And yeah, unless you're buying real estate, you're unlikely to need that kind of stuff. So we're going to pass that by for now. Okay. A ver. So that is our little cursory hundreds thing. We'll come back and revisit that yet another time. Vamos a ver, we're going to dip our toe into this idea of hundreds. And I'm going to show you this, I'm sorry, not hundreds, sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sí, pregunta, question? Sí.
Well, 70, is that 70?
70, right. Just like
70.
siete has an S-I-E-T, 70 as an S and a T.
Not
Setenta.
not S-E-S, but S-E-T. 70.
Sí, exacto. So I'm going to put it down in the chat box. Make sure you turn on the chat box. So I'll show you the progression. Seis is 6, but 60 is 60. Seis, you have 2 S's, right? So when we change it into a 60, it becomes 60. We keep the double S, but notice instead of saying 60, it's just 60. We shorten it. We take out the I. We take out the I. So you're going to notice something else with 70. 7 is siete. It gets an I sound. And 70 becomes 70. So just like we take out the I from seis, we take out the I to make it 60. With 7, siete, I've got an I take out the I, it becomes 70. Yeah. Vowels are really, really important and a big deal in Spanish. And a lot of times you will find out you will notice that sometimes I think it is to make pronunciation a little easier, they may take out a vowel where there's a combination of 2 vowels together. And sometimes, sadly, they will stick in extra vowels. You'll find out later with verbs, but that will be much later. So, yeah, we take out the I from seis, we take out the I from siete, they become double digit. 60, 70. The only difference between those two is I got in the middle an S, and an S switches to a T. 60 is 10 less than 70. Es importante ver that one little letter is really important. It's only one letter difference. 60, 70. But it's a 10 digit bump up difference. Yeah, es importante. It's important. 70, 70, 60, 60. Bien. Otras preguntas. Any other numbers, questions before we leave that? Gracias, Lisa. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Nada? Okay. Bien. We're kind of doing crash course a little bit here because we got a lot that we're going to cover. Vamos a ver. I'm going to show you this particular video so you can see the big things. Now, we used this as a vehicle. This, if you watch this video, and if you didn't, go back and watch it, because she shows you how what you know about making nouns, things, plural, kind of carries over into how to make adjective forms. And it does carry over, okay? So we're using colors as a vehicle, as a means to illustrate that. In Spanish, describing words, that means adjectives. An adjective tells you what a thing or a person looks like, acts like, feels like. They're description words. Adjectives describe nouns. They tell you what a thing, a person, place, or thing is like. And adjectives need to match up with the nouns they talk about. They need to match up with the nouns they talk about. So, if I talk about la taza, anything that describes la taza has to be in a feminine form because this is a feminine thing. It's a feminine noun. So, es una taza grande. It's a big cup. Es una taza roja. It's a red cup. Es una, if I tell what it's made of, that's not really an adjective. Then I'm saying it's made out of ceramic, and I'm using another noun. Es una taza de cerámica. Okay. Bien, pero es una taza roja. Es una taza grande. It's a big, yeah. Es un tablero. Es un tablero. This is a tablet. Es un tablero. Es un tablero masculino. Es un tablero negro. It's black. I mean, general scheme, ¿sí? Es un tablero negro. Negro. Bien, okay. Vale. So, describing words have to match up with, be in an agreeing form, kind of like pieces of a puzzle, with the things they talk about. So if we look at these colors, we see how we might need to change adjectives. Adjectives that end in o will have a masculine form and a feminine form, two separate forms. So let's look at all the colors that end in o. We've got anaranjado, orange, ends in o. Amarillo, ends in o. Rojo, ends in o. Rosado, pink, ends in o. Morado, purple, ends in o. Negro, ends in o. Blanco, ends in o. You see a little over half of those end in o. Those adjectives that end in o will need to have a feminine form if they're talking about a feminine thing. So they become anaranjada, ending in a. Amarilla, ending in a. Roja, ending in a. Rosada, ending in a. Morada, ending in a. Negra, ending in a. Blanca, ending in a. Okay. If they're talking about plural things, then I just put an S on the end of those, right? Anaranjados or anaranjadas. Amarillos or amarillas. Rojos, rojas. Rosados, rosadas. Morados, moradas. Negros, negras. Blancos, blancas. So a general rule, guideline, rule of thumb with adjectives is that adjectives that end in o do have to switch over to a feminine form. They might have to be plural, but plural is easy. I add an S. Fácil, easy, right? See? Okay. Adjectives that don't end in o, and this is going to be a general rule except for, let's say, except for things like nationalities, like French, Spanish, English, nationalities. If it's not one of those nationality words, if it's just, you know, any old garden variety, in this case, color-based adjective, adjectives that do not end in o we'll use the same form for masculine and feminine. I don't need to change anything out. Only thing I worry about is making them plural. Okay, so azul is both feminine and masculine form. Verde, because it doesn't end in o, is both masculine and feminine form, verde. Marron, brown, is both the masculine and feminine form. Okay, marron. Let's see. Ooh, gris, gray. Gris is both the masculine and feminine form, gris. Because it does not end in o, right? The last letter S is not an O. The last letter N is not an O. The last letter E, or E here is not an O. The last letter L is not an O. So I use the same word for both masculine and feminine. Azul, verde, marrón, gris. Yay. By the way, you should know that some countries, some regions, people don't like to use the word marrón. Depends on where you are. Some use café. Oh, or they lengthen it to color de café. Color de café, color of coffee. In Mexico, especially in Mexico, they kind of prefer that word café. So café will still fall into that category though of like café, like verde ends in an A. So I'll use the same word café for masculine or feminine. Same one, okay? So now we just have to look at how do I make it plural if I need to make it plural. And the same rule used for nouns, things will fall into place. Either an S or an ES makes it plural. So verde, just tag on it. Verde, sí. If I use café for brown, cafés. That's it. But these are things that end in consonants. I can't just add S, I have to add ES.
Yes.
So plural for azul will become
Azules.
azules, right?
Azules.
Plural for marrón will become
Marrones.
marrones, right? And plural for gris will become
Grises.
grises. Hey, es todo. That's it. Okay. So adjectives are kind of funky, kind of weird in that we need to make them match up. English does not do that. Okay, if you say a red car or a blue shirt, doesn't make any difference at all in English. Okay, but in Spanish it does. That blue or that red or that long, any describing word you use for an adjective will have to go into the form to match up with the noun it is talking about. So let's take a little longer look at this page. Okay, and it gives you the onesie version. I'll make this just a little bit bigger. The onesie version, the singular version. And then on the right, you see the plural, and the plural might have just a plural, or it might have a feminine and a masculine plural. So you see how that goes. Azul and azules, that's all you need to know. Verde and verdes, that's all you need to know. Marrón and marrones, that's all you need to know. Down here, gris and grises, that's all you need to know. But for these words that end in an O, we have multiple forms, right? Anaranjado, anaranjado, and then we put an S on the end. Anaranjados, anaranjadas. Amarillo, amarilla, but amarillos, amarillas. Rojo, roja, rojos, rojas. Rosado, rosada, rosados, rosadas. And they have rosa there because, again, some places, especially in Mexico, some people will use color de rosa, just to know that they may throw that at you. Morado, morada, and morados, moradas. Negro, negra, negros, negras. Blanco, blanca, blancos, blancas. Ok, bien. let's take a look, and we're going to kind of play around with this a little bit. Flag, bandera. What do we notice about that noun, that thing we call flag? Bandera, is that masculine or feminine? It's la bandera, it's feminine. So
Feminine.
anything that paints a picture of what that thing, bandera, looks like will have to be in a feminine form. So, la bandera de Francia, the flag of France. La bandera de Francia es azul. We need two more colors.
Y blanca.
Blanca,
Y roja. Roja.
roja. Es azul, blanca y roja.
Roja.
Yeah. And now you may not know Germany's flag colors. I'm going to tell you, Germany, we're going to be using black, red, and yellow. Black, red, and yellow. La bandera, it's a feminine thing. La bandera de Alemania, Germany, es negra,
Negro.
Roja
roja,
y
Amarilla.
amarilla. Perfecto. Okay. La bandera de Estados Unidos. Uh-oh, watch what we did. Tiene. It
Has.
has. Estrellas, stars.
Stars.
Oh, we're talking about the stars now. We're not really talking about the flag. We're talking about the stars. We need the color for the stars. Estrellas
blancas
blancas. Perfecto. Tiene estrellas blancas. Tiene, it has estrellas blancas. That is a harder example where we're looking at not bandera, but estrellas. Estrellas blancas. Okay. Los tomates, tomatoes, los tomates son
Son rojos.
rojos
rojos, rojos. Okay, generally. Oh, what if they weren't ripe yet? Yeah, then we would have to say los tomates
Verde.
Verde.
verdes,
verdes
verdes. And really, we would probably say están verdes because it's a changeable. We know they're going to change later. Están verdes. They are green, meaning they're not ripe. Okay, you see how ser and estar will kind of change a little because tomatoes are changeable, right, from one state into another. But now, Homer Simpson, he's got an unusual skin color. Homer Simpson es
Amarillo.
amarillo. Okay, so we're talking about cartoon people now. Cartoon people. Homer Simpson es amarillo. Oh, el pelo. We're talking about Marge's hair. Now notice, we're not talking about Marge. It can't be feminine because it's not talking about Marge. It's talking about the hair, which is pelo, masculine. The hair on Marge. El pelo de Marge es
azul
azul. Okay. Some of you may not know what Smurfs are. They're not as popular in the United States. They're little blue elves. They're little blue elves. Los pitufos son
azules
azules. Azules. Yeah, Smurfs are not necessarily a thing in America, but they are in Europe. Los pitufos, and that's what they call them in Spain. Los pitufos son azules. Okay. We're going to talk about two colors of chocolate. El chocolate es
Marrón.
café
marron or café, right? You can use either one, marron or café. And let
Blanca.
Negro.
what about white chocolate?
blanco
Blanco.
Blanco. Sí, es marrón o blanco. That little word o, just like y means and, the little word o by itself means or. When you hear an o, it means or. See? Okay. Los pepinos, cucumbers. Los pepinos son
Verde.
verde
verdes.
Verde.
Verdes. It needs to have an S at the end. Son verdes. Okay. El carbón, coal, es
Negro.
negro. That needs to be masculine word. La leche es
blanca
Blanca.
blanca, generally, right? La sangre, blood. La sangre es
Rojo.
Rojo.
¿para
Roja.
qué?
Roja.
Oh, roja.
Roja. Now, why does it have to be a roja? ¿Por qué?
La.
Roja.
La sangre.
La sangre. Yeah, that la that leads off. And sangre, kind of hard to tell. Is that masculine or feminine? Well, la sangre, because we use la with it, you know it's feminine. La sangre es roja. La sangre es roja. Bien? Okay? Vale. So you see how that is used. Let's take a look at, vamos a ver. Let's take a look at, we're going to make these a little bit bigger. Let's take a look at what happens with other adjectives that are not colors, because not all adjectives are colors, but all those adjectives are going to follow the same rules we used as the color information, okay? Adjetivos. So let's look at some examples. We're going to hear a little short description, and then we're going to describe our things. If you have a thing to describe, and if you don't worry about it. You know, it's holiday time. Un Ferrari es caro. A Ferrari is
A car.
Car.
expensive.
Ah.
Oh,
2 hours for the carro.
yeah, 2 hours for the car. Muy bien. This is one of those unusual situations where hearing a strong trill makes a difference. Carro,
Carro.
that's the thing.
Caro.
But caro means costs a
Expensive.
lot. Yeah,
Expensive.
costs a lot. Expensive. Un Ferrari es caro. Es caro. It's cost pricey, expensive. Un Kia es barato.
Cheap. Kia is cheap.
We're looking at some opposites, but they choose these opposites in your book because these are words that tourists tend to use a fair amount. Yeah, expensive versus inexpensive. Caro, barato. Okay, vale, bien. Un edificio alto,
Tall.
tall building. Un edificio bajo.
Short.
A short building, something that's not a tall structure. Un nuevo zapato, a
New.
new shoe. Son zapatos viejos.
Old.
Old.
They're old shoes. And when I'm talking about a pair, 2 of them, son zapatos viejos. See? Zapatos viejos. Let's look at some other examples. Short in length, not short in height, not people or buildings, short in length. Okay. Son pantalones cortos. Son pantalones largos.
Long.
They're long pants or they're short pants. See? Son pantalones cortos, son pantalones largos. What if I want to talk about big in size? Big in size, a word grande, right?
Grande. Yeah.
No son pantalones grandes. They are not big pants like extra large size, okay? Grandes would mean would be talking more about the size of the pants, not necessarily the length of the pants, okay? No son pantalones grandes. Pantalones, even though it talks about one thing, pantalones is a plural word. That's why it has to be pantalones largos, pantalones grandes, pantalones cortos. But you notice what happens with corto, we just add an S. Largo, we just add an S. Grande, it still ends in a consonant, we just add an S. Okay, así. Let's look at some other things people may describe. What if you want to talk about a hotel room, a bedroom in a hotel room? A hotel is typically going to talk about their rooms as either cuartos or habitaciones. So I might talk about this hotel room and say, es una habitación grande, es una feminine, because habitación is a feminine word. Es una habitación grande, es un cuarto grande. And notice grande does not end in an O. So I can use grande with a feminine word, habitación. I can use grande, same exact form, with a masculine word, cuarto. Okay. But the word small, pequeño, ends in an O. Unlike grande, which doesn't end in O, pequeño will get different forms. Es una habitación pequeña. It's a small room. Es un cuarto pequeño. Habitación feminine, pequeña. Cuarto, masculine, pequeño. ¿Entienden? Understand?
Mhm.
That is kind of a hard thing. Now, you may say at this point, and if you're not saying it, you may be thinking it. What if I make a mistake? Okay, bien. I'm going to tell you, it's kind of an NBD, kind of a no big deal. More important to get the word right, but the form of the word, if you make a mistake, well, will you be understood? Yes. So let me show you. If I said to somebody, let's say, because you know what, when you're thinking on your feet, speaking in real time, you don't have a lot of time to think about that, right? And you want those words to come out. Yeah, you know how it is. So what if you say, es una habitación pequeño? Because all you can think of is pequeño. What if you say, es una habitación pequeño? Will you still be understood?
See,
Yes. More important to get the word pequeño right, that you're talking about something that is not big. Yeah. Okay, less important to get the form right when you're a beginner. So if you say una habitación pequeño, is it wrong? Yes, okay, it's wrong. It should be pequeña. But at least they know you mean the concept. Yes. So will it sound wrong to them? Yes, it will sound wrong, but will they know what you mean? You see what I'm getting at? Yeah. So the vocabulary, as you, a beginner, are learning, the vocabulary is more important to get right than the form of the word. Okay. So don't hesitate to make a mistake. But do strive to know, vocabulary, pequeño means small. Grande is big, yeah? So strive for that vocabulary precision, and the getting the masculine, feminine precision will come later. That is a natural progression of your skills, okay? If I want to use the words estrecha, narrow, versus ancha, wide,
Why?
it becomes, if I talk about a street, una calle, street, feminine thing, es una calle estrecha. It's a narrow street. But if I use the word camino, road, and I wouldn't call this a road, but we're using this just for grammar purposes. Es un camino estrecho. You see what happens to the word estrecho. Estrecho, describing a masculine thing, becomes es un camino estrecho. But when we attach that idea of wide to a feminine thing, it becomes es una calle estrecha. Bien? Okay. If I talk about wide, a feminine thing, a wide street, es una calle ancha. Ancha. See? But if I use the word road again, which is a masculine word, it will become es un camino ancho. It's a wide road. Es un camino ancho. Okay? So you can see, get a feel for how adjectives are used. Okay. If I talk about wide and narrow with shoes, son zapatos muy estrechos. These are narrow shoes. But these are wide shoes. Son zapatos muy anchos. You see how those words change up when they're talking about a plural thing. Son zapatos estrechos. Son zapatos muy anchos. Bien, okay. Bien. Okay, fantastico. Let's switch over to talking about some things. Actually, I'm going to put on one little video, which is a great video. You're going to have a lady who is going to describe something, and you'll see how she does it before you do it, because we're getting close to the time where hopefully you'll be able to do some describing. And if you don't quite feel ready for that, don't worry about it. I will have lots of describing if you haven't got it. Okay, I want you to notice, and this is about a 3-minute video, but she talks about things. She describes things. Pueden verla. Can you see her?
Sí.
Okay.
En este video vamos a ver un ejemplo de cómo describirnos a nosotros mismos.
Oh, how to describe our pets. Descripciones.
Mi nombre es Jessica, soy colombiana.
Soy colombiana. Where is she from?
Colombia.
Colombia.
Yeah.
Soy colombiana. And she did not say soy colombiano. Because she's a woman. Soy colombiana. Bien, okay.
Soy estudiosa, introvertida.
Soy estudiosa. Soy estudiosa.
Student? Studio?
Sí, estudiosa. Studious, sí. Introvertida.
Introvert.
Introverted, introvertida.
Y alegre.
Y alegre, happy person.
A veces también soy un poco perezosa, pero
Un poco perezosa. Now, notice she talked about herself, and every time she talks about herself, she uses a feminine description. Soy un poco, then poco means a little bit. Soy un poco perezosa. I'm a little bit lazy. Okay.
a veces también soy muy activa.
Activa. Soy activa.
Depende
Soy
un poco
active.
del clima.
¿Sí?
Cuando hace frío, soy un poco más perezosa, pero cuando hace calor o buen tiempo, soy un poco más activa.
When it's cold, I'm a little lazy. When it's hot outside, I'm more active. Okay. Descripciones físicas, physical descriptions.
Soy alta y delgada. Tengo el pelo no muy largo, pero tampoco muy corto.
Oh, so she said, I have hair that's not real long, but not real. See? Bien? Okay. And no, she said, tengo el pelo, because she is not hair. She can't say soy pelo. Tengo el pelo no muy largo, pero no muy corto. Okay. So she's combining a lot of these ideas. She's using some tengo, I have, to describe herself. She's using some soy, like soy colombiana, soy estudiosa, soy introvertida.
Mi pelo es de color castaño, mis ojos son cafés y
Mis ojos son cafés. My eyes are
Brown.
brown. And she used a different word for hair. Castaño is yet another word for brown. They have words for gradations of brown. Castaño is like chestnut brown.
mi color de piel es trigueña. ¿Sabes esa palabra? Trigueña es una palabra que se usa frecuentemente para describir el color de piel de algunas personas.
And don't worry about trigueña yet, because she's kind of halfway. And because a lot of people have many different racial mixes in their background. Some people have darker skin, some people have lighter skin. So she's kind of in between. So this in between in Colombia is trigueña. But don't worry about it. That is not a word you have to add to your vocab yet. Now she's talking about her dog next.
Y él es Andy. Andy es mi mascota.
Andy is mi mascota. Andy is my pet. There's the word for pet. Mascota. Looks like mascot. Mascota, yeah. Mascota is a pet. And mascota is a feminine word. Okay.
Él es Chihuahua.
Él es Chihuahua. He's a Chihuahua dog. He's a boy
Es
dog.
pequeño.
And now she used feminine things about herself, but now she's going to use masculine things because she's talking about el perro, the dog. Okay, it's pequeño, he's small.
Y creo que delgado, pero es fuerte. Es muy
Delgado, he's thin, pero
Mm.
fuerte, he's fuerte, strong. Okay, fuerte.
activo, le gusta correr y saltar mucho y es muy amigable. Le gusta mucho
Es amigable, he's friendly. Amigo can become amigable, friendly.
jugar con otros perros y con otras personas.
He plays with people, she said. And gustar, you don't know how to use
Su
yet, so don't worry about that.
pelaje es de color rojo con
Pelaje.
un poco de blanco y sus ojos son de color café.
Sus ojos son de, es pelirrojo. She said he's a redhead. I don't really see that, but maybe it's a difference in the color with the camera. Tiene el pelo rojo. Su pelo es de color rojo. I don't really see him as red, but well, I got to trust her. It's her dog. Tiene ojos cafés. He has coffee colored eyes, literally brown eyes. Sus ojos son de color café. There is another way to say brown. Sus ojos son cafés. These are all different ways to talk about his eyes. He has brown eyes. His eyes son de color café, brown color. Sus ojos son cafés. His eyes are brown. Hay muchas opciones. There are lots of options for talking about his eye color or his hair color. So just know that sometimes you have those options. And I think we're almost at the end here. Hacia el fin.
Ahora es tu turno. ¿Cómo eres tú?
Es tu turno. It's your turn. So, sí, it is your turn. I will send you that video so you can watch it again later. Bien. It's time now to do some adjective practice. Práctica. I'm going to show you my examples first. Any old thing around your house, clothing, books, any bric-a-brac, any stuff you've got. Ooh, tengo. I have, tengo. Tengo un cuenco, un cuenco azul y verde.
Bluish green.
Sí. un cuenco azul y verde, sí. Es de cerámica, sí. Clase, ¿es un cuenco grande o un cuenco pequeño?
Pequeño.
Es
This
pequeño.
one.
Es pequeño, sí, exacto. Es otro cuenco. I don't know why I've got some bleed over sound coming through here. Es un cuenco más grande. It's bigger, es más grande. Es un cuenco de vidrio. It's glass, de vidrio. Es un cuenco rosado. Oh, you know what? I think that's coming through from,
Rosado.
perdón. I know where that's coming through. It went on to a different video. We don't want it to do that.
We don't hear that.
No lo quiero. I don't want it. No lo quiero. Es un cuenco rosado, pink. Es un cuenco rosado. Es un cuenco más grande. Ok, vale, sí. Es una bandeja. It's a tray.
Tray.
Es una bandeja de plata. Sí,
De
so,
plata. Plate.
sí, es para servir, es para servir pan, for serving bread, es para servir pan. Bien. Y por fin, tengo, sí, una cuchara. Spoon.
Spatula.
Clase, la cuchara es pequeña
Spoon.
o es grande. ¿Es pequeña o es grande?
Grande.
Es grande. Es una cuchara
Big.
grande, ¿sí? Es para servir de un cuenco, ¿sí? Es para servir.
Serve.
Exacto, es para servir de un cuenco, ¿ok? Bien. La cuchara es gris, con una manga
Gray.
de madera, sí, es gris. Es una cuchara gris, ¿ok? ¿Vale? Do you have a thing to describe? Does anyone have a thing to describe? ¿Sí
Sure.
o no? Bien. Vamos, let's go.
So I went a little crazy. And I'm
Okay,
going to need your help.
that's okay. Está bien. That is what I am here
I thought,
for.
why not? Be
Es mi
brave,
trabajo.
right?
That is, sí, exacto.
So do you see it? Oh, here.
Oh,
Es un trozo de pastel. Oh, eres ambiciosa. You are ambitious.
Now I'm hungry.
Tengo
Comida.
hambre. Sí, okay. Okay, dinos,
So,
tell us something.
Mi favorita tarta es queso calabaza tarta.
Okay, sí. And you know, oddly, there are different words for pie depending on where you go. Some places in Mexico, you will just hear them use pie.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it easy.
But pastel, I would use pastel, because it's a
pastel.
pastry. Pastel de calabaza. And I will type in
Queso.
Pues sí, pero calabaza es pumpkin.
Pumpkin, but cheese. It's a cheesy.
Oh, con queso, sí,
Oh,
también.
con queso.
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 Queso. Okay, so now when we talk about that, es pastel de calabaza y queso. Es pastel de calabaza y queso. So when I talk about the things it's made out of, I know in English, the pumpkin and the cheese becomes kind of like an adjective But now we're talking about what it's made out of. So we're actually going to use two things, two
So do I
materials.
need to use El Pascal in the front and the later? Like my favorite pie is cheesy pumpkin pie, or do I just say cheesy pumpkin?
Es buena pregunta. Mi pastel favorito. Mi pastel
El
favorito.
favorito.
Or you can also, they have a different word for favorite. Instead of that, you can use mi pastel preferido. There are two words that both mean favorite,
Okay.
but you can hear that one is preferred and one is favorite. They're both correct.
Okay. So mi pastel favorito calabaza de queso.
Es de is made
Es
out
de
of.
queso.
Es de queso.
Es de queso.
Es de queso y calabaza. Es de queso y calabaza.
Y- Okay.
Ex-
Okay.
Oh,
Tiene dos colores de crema y marrón. It has
excelente.
two color. Oh no, sorry, I messed up. Tiene dos colores, capas, layer, capas
Sí, sí.
de crema y marrón.
Excelente. Muy bien. Bien hecho, bien hecho. Aquí tengo mi mascota. Una
Okay.
mascota, sí.
And,
Muy travieso. Very mischievous. Es travieso. Eres muy travieso. Ok, bien, perfecto.
Then more.
Sí, sí.
You Arvianas. Let's see.
Mm.
Yo horneada.
Oh,
Horneada. I
Es-
baked.
okay.
Es horneada.
Horneé.
Es-
I baked. Horneé.
Horneé. Oh,
To
I
say
baked.
I baked, horneé.
Horneé. Okay. Horneé. Es on 450 grados
Wow.
por 10 minutos.
Muy bien. Muy bien. Muy bien hecho. Well done. Bien hecho. Ok. Ay, Darshu, bien.
Y 350 grados por 40 minutos.
40 minutos. Parece perfecto. That seems perfect. Sí.
Es
Sí.
fácil y sabrosa.
Sí. Es un pastel sabroso. Es un pastel sabroso.
Sabroso.
It is a tasty pie. Es un pastel sabroso. Es un pastel. El pastel está rico. It tastes
Rich.
super delicious. Yeah, rich and delicious. Okay. Excelente. Muy bien. Bien
Okay.
hecho. Well done. Yeah. Wow, that was a big one to do.
I know, it took a long time to.
Eres ambiciosa. Ambiciosa. You're ambitious. Está bien. That is good. Okay. Algo más. Somebody else got a different one to share today. Sí, Liza. Es un adorno. It's a decoration.
Yes. See, the carro is Santa Claus. Es un pequeño y rojo. Pequeño y rojo.
Pequeño y es un carro.
Pequeño.
Pequeño, sí.
Santa tiene en su carro.
Santa tiene su carro. Santa tiene su carro. Santa has his car. Exacto.
Con unos varios, it's hard to say the toys word for me.
Okay, I'm going to help you with the toys word here. Juguetes.
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 Okay.
Varios
Toy.
juguetes, several toys. Varios juguetes.
Y Reno.
Un reno. Ah, un reno, sí. A reindeer.
Hay una muñeca. Muñeca. Muñeca.
Oh, muñeca?
No, hay una
Una
muñeca.
muñeca. I'm going to show you the word for doll. Here's the word for doll. And oddly enough, this also means this part of your body. This is an
Or
odd
wrist.
word. Yes. Now, how did that happen? I have no idea, but muñeca, muñeca,
Muñeca.
muñeca, muñeca. Liza, ¿es una muñeca atractiva? ¿Es bonita?
Roja vestido.
Okay. ¿Un vestido rojo?
Rojo vestido. Sí, bonito. Así.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to say the doll has a red dress. I'm going to show you how to say the small doll
Model.
has a red dress. Small talks about doll. Okay. But red talks about dress. Okay.
Right.
La muñeca pequeña tiene un vestido rojo.
O rosado.
Or rosado, pink.
Rosada.
Rosa. But now notice, if the dress is pink, it's un vestido
Oh,
rosado.
rosado.
Even though a muñeca is wearing it, that thing, dress, vestido, is masculine. So we need la muñeca pequeña tiene un vestido rosado.
Vestido rosado.
Bien?
So
And you just need to hear lots of examples. Okay, so don't worry if you get them wrong at this point. You're getting a description out, and that's good. That's good enough
say,
for now.
Okay, one more thing.
Sí.
Además,
Además, besides.
además, el carro es musical.
El carro es musical.
Mm.
El carro
Oh, it is
toca música.
Musical.
El carro toca música. The car plays.
music.
I want you to notice what happens to the word Christmas music. Es música navideña.
Música Navidad.
Navideña, sí. Es música navideña. I'm going to type it in here. This is a word that describes the kind of music. Es música navideña. Because you've all heard that song, Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, right? Happy Christmas, literally. Anything referring to Christmas becomes an adjective. Navideña means a thing that is Christmas-y, Christmas-y, okay? See? Es música navideña. Bien?
Sí. Es música navideña.
Excelente. Excelente. Ok, es música navideña. Es la temporada, the season, la temporada navideña. Excelente. Sí, es un adorno it's a decoration, es un adorno navideño.
Christmas
Adorno.
decoration.
Oh,
Sí.
sí.
Sí, perfecto. Muy bien, bien hecho. Well done, bien hecho. Vale, magnífico. Otra descripción. Do we have another description? ¿O no? ¿No? ¿Sí? CJ, ¿tienes
sí.
algo?
Sí,
Ok.
la grapadora es negra.
Oh, sí, stapler.
La grapadora es largo.
Es
¿Grande?
largo, es largo, es
Largo.
grande. Sí, correcto. ¿De
La
qué color es, CJ? ¿De qué color es la grapadora?
blanca. What color?
Negra.
Es negra.
Es negra.
Sí, es negra, es larga, es grande. Muy bien, bien.
La pluma
La pluma, sí.
es azul.
Azul. Fácil. Azul.
I'm not baking. I don't have my decorations.
No importa, does not matter. No
¿Taza?
importa.
¿Taza?
La
Or
taza
La taza es gris.
es gris, bien.
Gris y blanca.
Y blanca, muy
Blanca.
bien. CJ, ¿tiene café? Tu taza, ¿tiene café?
Sí, no más.
No, no tiene café, no tiene café. Bien. Okay, bien. Otra cosa, do you have another thing in there, CJ? You have another gem hiding or no?
Not a gem. No.
Okay. Not a gem. Okay, bien, bien, bien. Oh, tengo una cosa más. Tengo una bolsa. Una
Bag?
bolsa. A bag.
Bolsa, bag.
Es
bolsa.
una bolsa. Clase, ¿es pequeña es la bolsa? ¿Es pequeña o es grande?
Grande.
Grande.
Es grande. Es una bolsa grande, sí. Es una bolsa reciclada. Reciclada.
Recycled.
Recyclable.
Es una bolsa especial. Es una bolsa reciclada muy especial. Y devolver. That's for a return bag. Ok, bien. Pero entienden, if I talk about a recycle bag, es una bolsa reciclada.
Reciclada.
Bien, sí. But especial, I didn't have to change. Es una bolsa especial. Es una bolsa reciclada. Bien. Bien, bien. And poco a poco, little by little, as we do a little bit more, every time you hear more examples, pay attention to that. And I will send you the link to the description so you can listen to that again. And you'll be hearing lots of little short story things that have descriptions. I want to preview couple of things that I will want you to watch. ¿Hay alguna pregunta while I'm looking this up? Is there any other question you've got about adjectives? Because it's really going to be a matter of practice and practicing these a lot to get used to them. That's just the way that goes. Any question before we leave that and I preview some things for you to work on next week? Sí or no? No? Okay. So just notice these things are going to come in and out. You're going to see more and more adjectives as we move along. One thing I am going to show you, I'm going to preview so you see what this looks like. You're going to get a link in the email with this guy, Dr. Danny. He's going to show you what happens with verbs. That is the big, big deal that I want you to preview for next week. And verbs, if you want to see where they do it in the book, where they talk about it in the book, you're going to have to kind of skip ahead a bit. And you're going to need to skip ahead to chapter 7, siete. So it's going to cover through page 95, 95, up through really that whole chapter. I'm going to say about page 95 through about maybe 101, 95 through 101, 95, página 95, up till hasta 101, 101. We're going to talk about verbs. And you say to yourself, well, I know verbs because we've talked about verbs before. We've done ser, we've done tener, we've done estar. Those are all verbs, and that is all true. But we're going to dive into what we call regular verbs. What the heck is a regular verb? A regular verb is a verb that follows a pattern. Okay. Ser and estar and tener are irregular verbs. And what that means is they do not follow a pattern that is easy to predict. Okay. Trying to get my exact.
We're skipping
Running
chapter
on.
6.
You are skipping chapter 6, yes, because it's going to talk about some things about directions and other things that will not help you so much with what we need to know next. And what we need to know next is what verbs are, and I'll probably actually send you about 2 or maybe even 3 videos to watch that will talk about these regular verbs. I'm trying to find my, oh yeah, that wasn't quite what I wanted, but okay. Verbs in Spanish, and actually I'll bring up my share screen here, a whiteboard. Verbs in Spanish are either regular or irregular, and the verbs ser and tener and estar are irregular. That means they don't follow a predictable pattern. But all verbs in Spanish are going to start off with what we call an infinitive. And then verbs that are infinite, or numbers that are infinite, go on forever, right? But when we use the word infinitive, it's talking about verbs. And verbs are action words. They tell you what is happening. Okay. Unlike English, where we only get this many forms, usually, of verbs, in Spanish, you're going to have to learn to use, that many forms. Okay. But let's start with the infinitive. An infinitive is, in English, a word that always starts with the word to, and then an action. And it just means like the basic action. We're not telling yet who does it. So to walk, to talk, to sing, to eat, to drink, to decorate. All those things are actions, right? But in English, we don't say, I to decorate the tree this week. I to decorate. Well, we have to do something. And in English, what we do is we get rid of this word to, right? When we tell who does something, we get rid of the word to. And you say, I decorate the tree. We decorate the tree. You decorate the tree. He decorate. Do I say he decorate the tree? He
Decorates.
decorates. So we only have that many forms. I decorate the tree, or he or she decorates the tree. I drink or she drinks. I eat, you eat, we eat. Oh, they eat. That's an odd one. Yeah, she eats. It's not an odd one. She eats. So we have eat, eats, drink, drinks, decorate, decorates, sing, sings. In Spanish, sadly, it won't be quite that straightforward. It will be a little more complicated. What's going to happen is all these words that have to walk, to talk, to eat, their equivalent to that in Spanish is to have not the word to, but to have a little tag thing on the end of the action. So it's going to be an infinitive that ends in, it won't begin with to, but it will end in an AR, or it will end in an ER, or it will end in an IR. They have three categories of what we call an infinitive. That means the basic verb form. Okay, so and they'll all fall into one of those three categories. So hablar means to talk, and that happens to be an AR verb. Comer means to eat, and that happens to be an ER category verb. Vivir means to live, and that happens to be an IR category verb. So what's important for you to know is that all verbs will be one of these three categories. And we're going to have to do something to change that word hablar, to change that word comer, to change that word vivir, to tell who is doing the action, who talks, who eats, who lives in a place. We're going to have to change those verbs. And what's going to happen is the AR is going to come off, and we'll put little endings on them to tell who does the speaking. The ER will have to come off, and we'll tag on little endings to tell who eats stuff. The IR will have to come off, and we'll tell who lives in that place. But that beginning part of the verb will stay there. We'll put little things on the endings to tell who does the action. The verbs in Spanish are very important because they tell who is doing the action, what the action is, and when it's happening. And right now, we're just going to be learning present, things that are going on right now. So that is going to be your job, to watch the little videos on what are AR verbs, what are ER verbs, what are IR verbs, and how do they change form to tell us who is doing an action. Okay, just like you change the verb ser, you change the verb estar, you change the verb tener. But these are going to be predictable verbs because all regular AR verbs will do only one kind of change. All ER verbs will do one kind of change. All IR verbs will do one kind of change. And these, if a verb is regular in one of these categories, they will do predictably use the same kind of patterns over and over again. And the videos are going to show you what those patterns are. And then we'll talk about it, manipulate it, and change it around and learn how to use those next week. Okay, está bien? Are we good with that?
Yes.
See? Bien?
Sí.
Okay. It's going to feel like a lot of memorization, but it's going to be getting used to the pattern. So if you look at the patterns we used with tener, with estar, you're going to notice on the little charts they gave you long ago with ser and estar and tener, I had little colors that were different about some of those verbs. And those kind of color changes, you're going to see them pop up again in the regular AR verbs, the regular ER verbs, the regular IR verbs. The one thing that is also good for you to know that I will leave before you ending, AR category verbs are the most common verb category. Probably like 60% of all the verbs in Spanish wind up being AR verbs. A lot. It's the biggest category of the three, the AR, the ER, the IR. The AR is the biggest category. The greatest number of actions, activities will be expressed with an AR verb. Para que sepan, just so that you know that. Okay? Bien?
Bien.
Okay? Vale. So I'll send you all those in the email and that'll set us up for next week's practice. Bien?
Bien.
Yeah.
Excelente. Ok. Bueno, y nos vemos. Feliz Navidad, happy holidays,
Navidad.
whichever. Or if you don't celebrate anything at all, still Feliz Navidad. Have a happy
Feliz
week.
Navidad.
¿Sí bien?